Well, hello once again, my friends, fellow modelers, fellow lovers of everything interesting. I welcome you to another video, and I got a fun video today, and it seemed like it's been a year since I got the last shipment, but I actually have the latest shipment from AGORA Models. Of course, we're doing the build the Titanic, and this is going to be pretty fun. I actually needed a replacement part, and the last build that I had done, this is going back to the first shipment when I had to put a cogwheel onto the engines, and it wasn't going on right, and the inside wasn't formed to the metal rod. So I had contacted them, and they said that they were going to get it in the mail, and time went by, I forgot about it, and I had to remind them a couple of times, but I actually did get it. I got the cogwheel in, and we'll do that when we do the build part of this shipment. But like all the shipments I like to do, like I've done with the Diamond Select, the Eagle Moss, build the Enterprise, and we'll do an unboxing, and I'll show you everything that's in this. This is shipment number 3. So without further ado, let's go open the box. Okay, let's open up the box. I can't wait to see what's in here. Again, it feels like it's been a year. And up. Alright, maybe I don't even have to cut it. Hopefully nothing's missing because the tape or the seal had come off. Alright, let's open up the box and we'll take a look at what's in here. Before we go, well, I told you guys about the replacement part, that's right. So we got this, and we got a bunch of boxes. This is interesting. Are these bollards, or look like, is that a breakwater? It looks like we have more little parts. What I usually like to do is, here are the magazines, so let's show the magazines first, then we'll go through and look at everything. But just to give you guys a preview, we've got issue number 9, issue 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. It seems like there's a lot in this shipment, or it's been so long since I've gotten the shipments that I forgot the amount of stuff that's in them. So why don't we go ahead, we'll put these over here for now, and let's check out some of these boxes. Alright, so you can see by Hatchet. So these are probably not going to be in order. So the magazines that I show you will be in order, but opening up the boxes, they're not numbered, so we'll just see what we see. Okay, let's open it up. And I like about it, they got the tissue paper to keep everything nice and safe and secure. All right. Oh, look at this. Beautiful. And it looks like the wood section is already on the deck, or the boat deck. You guys can see, I'll glue that down a bit. We'll give it a little bit of a better seal. Yeah, when we do it, I'll glue it down like we did for the forecastle. But you can see the boat deck, and again, give you the size, the scale of a 1/200 scale. You can see this is the boat deck, and look, you can see the doors, and you can even see the lights. You know, it'd be really cool. You know, it wouldn't be hard to drill out all the little where the lights go, and then put fiber optic. You know what? I think I may do that. and maybe touch up the windows. We can have a little bit of fun. But that's what was in this box. Is there anything else? Yep. Nice. Looks like we have a generator. Or a winch. Looks like we got a vent. And what's this thing? Looks like it could be another vent. And a couple of other little pieces that are obviously more than likely going to go right there on the deck. Very nice. Okay, is that everything that was in that box? I think so. Okay, box number 2. This one is a little heavier. Okay. It's like Christmas morning going through this. And this feels like part of the hull. Let's put these aside for a moment. Oh, look at that. This is the bow section, or part of the bow section. More than likely is going to go underneath. Oh, I love that. Look at that. And it's metal. Absolutely beautiful. You can see how it's going to go together. Screws. And the lips is probably going to hook in. Absolutely gorgeous. Is that it? Yep. All right. Again, it's like being a little kid at Christmas going and opening up all these. And we have, looks like bollards. And we have, looks like a winch, a generator, and a couple of vents. And looks like we got a couple of screws. So that's everything in this box. Oh, we got another little baggie. I don't know if this was in here. Looks like a little bit of working parts. Could be another winch, a generator. Number 13, new color. We'll see what that's all about in the instructions. All right, let's put that aside. Okay, on to box number 3. Okay. Oh, let's see. It looks like they're broken down into several. Looks like there's something in there. Looks like we got to go the other way. The other end to open it up. Is that everything? All right, that's everything in the box. All right. There's something rattling around in here. Let's check this out. Oh, yeah. Looking like it's the Smokestack, one of them. Look at that. The detail is phenomenal. I love the color. Look at the rivets. You can see where the ladder probably is going to go in the back and the front. And you've got like an insert to go inside. And it's going to close up. And there's another insert. And I don't know if this is going to... I don't know what this is for. It's like cylindrical. But it was in here, so... I don't think that's where it's going to go. But for now, that's what was in there. Okay, so we got another one. This could be the top of the smokestack. Oh, look at that. This is plastic. It's not metal, but look at the rivets. Beautiful. And there's this insert in here. I wonder if that's anything to do with dispersal of the mist. It's gonna look like the smoke. And that's everything that's in that tissue package. Let's see what else we got. Looks like we got one more. Looks like we got the top of the smokestack, the grill, and you can see where all of the rigging is going to be tied up. And we've got a cylindrical piece. Almost looks like a cigarette. I wonder if this is to be used for absorbing water for the smoke. We'll see. And it's got a spring with a pin on it. Hopefully you can see that. And another little piece. So I'm not going to take this out. We'll do this. We'll show this when we do the build. Let's see. And we've got some very tiny little screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got 7. These are what? DP? What DB screws? And we've got EB screws. Or EP screws. They might have put it upside down. Let's see. Is that everything? Yep. And that's everything that was in this packet of tissue. I think that's everything. We had 3 packets. Moving on to box number 4. This one's light. We'll see if there's any kind of decking or plastic pieces. Let's see. Okay, that's everything. Okay. This looks like it could be the glass, the greenhouse kind of section that goes over the grand staircase. Look at that. I think this is a cargo hatch. Could be wrong, but maybe not. I don't know. It looks like it could be a cargo hatch, but then you look at the markings on it. I'm not sure. There's 2 of them. We'll see if those are cargo hatches. And what else is in there? Is that it? Yep, it's just those pieces. Okay, so now let's see what we got here. Looks like decking. Ooh, nice. And yeah, this is decking. And just like we had to do for the forecastle deck, you can see it's the peel and stick. And we'll do that, plus we'll put the wood glue on, just to make sure. And then I like to super glue all the pieces that go on, just to make sure that everything stays nice and snug and secure. But you can see that beautiful wood decking. Very nice, and don't worry, all the ripples will go away, just like it did when we did the forecastle at the bow. All right, what else is in here? Last thing, we have, it looks like CP screws. And is that everything in there? Yep. Let's check out box number 5. Oh, this feels like metal. Oh, looks like the point of the bow section. Actually, let me show you guys this first. They look like little gears, little cog wheels, little pins on them. It'd be interesting to see what these do. Find out in the instructions. And looks like we have, could be a bollard, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if these are little vents. We'll see. In the directions, and the last bag, what is this? This is, looks like HM screws. All right, and now for the metal piece. Love it. And this will abut right up to the bow section. But look at that. You can see where the screws are going to go. She'll really start to take shape once the sides and the bottom go up. And then we have something to attach the forecastle to. Love it. Is that everything that's in that one? Yep, that's everything that's in this box. All right, moving on. This is actually box number 6 now. Last box, box number 6. Let's take a peek on what's in here. Is that everything? Yep. All right, let's check this out. Nice. Yeah, let's check these. Are they stapled? Yep, the bags are stapled together. So it looks like we have GM screws. And which ones are these? I don't see any markings. Oh, there it is. This looks like it could be AM screws. And lastly, it looks like we've got a long metal piece, a shorter metal piece, cylindrical, and looks like we have more deck pieces, maybe bollards and generators and other pieces that are going to go on the deck. So that's everything that's in the bags. And let's see, we've got, nice. I don't even know what this section could go to, but we'll find out. Maybe this is the part that's going to be, the plates are going to attach and then screw to keep them together. Maybe. And it's everything in this baggie, so let's see. The other bag looks like it's got the top where the handrail goes. Yep, nice. This is the top of the, beautiful. Look at the portholes. And right on top of this is where the handrails would go. Right, this section right here. Beautiful. I think this is for the starboard side because you can see how it dips down. That little dip where it goes to being level with the deck. Absolutely beautiful. All right. And let's see what that's all about. So let's go to the first issue that we received, and that's issue number 9. You can see that beautiful model. All right, let's check it out. And in issue number 9, we have the Giant of the Sea, the Floating Hotel, the Talkies, giving Titanic a voice, the attraction of Turkish culture, and the assembling, the bow. Nice, look at that. Just the keel section and screws, plus cylinder heads and valves for the engine. Nice. And moving on, we've got the Giant of the Sea section. And I love the pictures. Look at that. I love the plans of the Titanic, seeing that. Look at the boilers on the bottom. Look at the double hull, the keel, the bilge keels. And look at the, looks like the beds, the bunks. Looks like they have a tennis court. You can see rooms. It looks like Over here we have dining areas. I hope the camera picks these up. Going up we have more of the, I think it looks like the first class areas. And looks like we got the smoking rooms and all the way up top. That would be the promenade or the boat deck. I think the promenade deck. Very nice. Okay, so it has a key. So let me, instead of rambling, S is the sun deck, obviously. And then we have the upper promenade deck. And we have the promenade deck glass enclosed section, which is down there. And then we have C is just the upper deck. And D is the saloon deck. It must be a popular deck. E is the main deck. F is the middle deck. It's funny, I never really knew there was a tennis court down there. G is the lower deck, the cargo, the coal bunkers, the boilers, and the engines. Down there. And let's see. A, wine davits with lifeboats, and that's back up on top. And let's see. Where's G? G, lower deck, okay, I said that. B, the bilge keel. And C, the double bottom. Nice. This diagram shows an artist's impression of the cross-section of Titanic, with details of the amenities that could be enjoyed on each deck. Love it. The White Star Line wanted to make Titanic the most luxurious ship of its kind, equivalent in comfort to the best hotels in the world. She certainly was that. Oh, I love this. Check this out. This is a plan of the ship. This is first class accommodations. Oh, can you imagine having the original one of these? Just amazing. Show you some of the photos that are on here. White Star flag. Repenting. I'll show you on the other side of the pictures. Nice. Love it. Detailed plan showing the layout of the first class accommodation on Titanic. And it gives you some facts and figures. As with almost every piece of information about the ship, even the statistical data on Titanic's passengers and casualty numbers vary widely. Original lists were inaccurate, but it is generally believed that the following information is accurate as this can be. Got her length at 882 feet. Her beam was 92.5 feet. The depth was 59.5 feet. Gross tonnage, 46,329 tons. That's a big lady. 34-foot draft with 10 decks. Cruising speed with 21 knots and a top speed of 23 knots. 20 lifeboats and 4 were dinghies. Total capacity of 3,547 passengers and crew. Approximate number of people on board at the time was 2,200, including about 900 crew members. Approximate number of the victims were 1,500. Number of bodies recovered, the number varies depending on sources, but from 328 to 340. The number of survivors varies, depends on sources, but they range from 701 to 706. Wow. Look at that. Beautiful photograph. Well, artist rendition or a digital rendition. An artist's impression of Titanic's boat deck before the horror struck. It looks like what we could be starting to work on in a build. And you can see The talkies giving Titanic a voice. In 1929, the memory of Titanic was more alive than ever. The time seemed right for the making of a new talking film about the disaster. You can say E.A. DuPont's Atlantic. Atlantic came out in 1929 from the United Kingdom with black and white and sound. It was 87 minutes long, directed by Ewald Andre DuPont. Screenplay was Victor Kendall from the play The Berg by Ernest Redmond. Music was John Renders, and the cast starred Franklin Dial, Madeline Carroll, Jon Stewart, Ellaline Terrace, Monty Banks, Donald Calthrop, John Longden, Arthur Hardy, Helen Hade, D.A. Clark Smith, and Joan Berry, British International Pictures. Moving on, an attraction of the Turkish culture. Of course, the Titanic had the beautiful Turkish bath. Turkish baths were popular throughout Europe in Victorian times. By the early 1900s, they were even found on board luxury liners such as Titanic. You can see these beautiful illustrations. An early 20th century brochure advertised the elegant surroundings with different health and leisure facilities available at the Grand Bain Saint Denis in Paris. A photograph of the Turkish bath on Titanic, shown in a supplement from the Daily Graphic newspaper that was published on April 20th, 1912. You know, I've actually showed you that Daily Graphic. I've gone through a reproduction of that paper commemorating the disaster in full coverage. That was a great, interesting video. Below, early 20th century spa towns are transformed into elegant holiday resorts for aristocrats and the burgosies. This photograph shows one of the swimming pools at Gellert Spa in Budapest, which was a well-known spa complex built in an Art Nouveau style between 1912 and 1918. Beautiful, huh? Okay, now we move on to the build. I think 8, 9, 10. Yep. Okay, so now we start. We assemble the bow, and you can see the parts in the issue. Parts list. And you can see the parts that we had already built. We're going to put that part on. The panel joints, we're going to add on to it. Nice. Position the top strip along the side hull section so the screw holes are aligned. You can see we're going to put the top on where the railings go. And you can see we're actually going to take those rods, take the two spacers. Note that 9H and 9G, one of them is shorter. The spacer fit the thin end of the spacer in the socket, the inside of the hull section. You can see that right there. And look at that. It looks like we're going to bring the halves together. Take the port and starboard sections of the hull and check how they fit together. Nice. This is going to be so much fun. It's finally going to start to look like something, like a ship. You can see all the screw holes. And when we put it together, you can see how it's really going to start to form. And here's a piece to rest the bow section on. Doesn't that remind you of that iconic picture when the ship's being built, when she's in dry dock? The bow assembly can be fitted onto the support 8A supplied with issue 8, but it is not very stable at this stage. Store the unused cleats and GM screws. They will be used in a future issue. Nice. And that is issue 9. So moving on to issue 10. Again, they all have the same cover. Okay, issue 10. The band on Titanic, shipyards and politics, everyone in the gym and details for the engines. Nice, I love that. Coming in this issue, you can see the smokestack sections. The funnel wrap, the tank, the filter, the funnel cap, and other parts for the first funnel. On board the Titanic, look at that, you can see the illustration of the picture of the violin. Aside from Wallace Hartley, there's little known about the lives of the other musicians who tried to comfort the passengers on that fateful night. John LeHume was engaged to be married when he took the job playing the violin in the orchestra on Titanic. Nice scene from the movie. According to several witnesses' accounts, despite the extreme critical situation, the musicians moved outside to the deck while continuing to play. This still photograph taken from the film A Night to Remember, 1958, reconstructs that moment. Shipyards and politics. Edward Carlson led the Ulster Unionist resistance in attempts to introduce home rule for the whole of Ireland. You can see the sign he's behind. We will not have home rule for Ireland. The early 20th century, 80% of industrial manufacturing in Ireland was concentrated in Ulster, including major shipyards. And look, we got a photograph of the actual gym. Several photographs of Titanic gym exist today. In this photograph, the gym instructor, Thomas W. McCauley, demonstrates the rowing machine while the man in the background rides the electric horse. With limited opportunities for walking, passengers on board Titanic looked to exercise on the squash courts, in the pool, or in the shipboard gymnasium. On board Titanic, no expense was spared to ensure that passengers had an entertaining voyage. Passengers could keep in physical shape by frequenting the onboard gym. Illustration above was used in a White Star Line publicity brochure for Olympic and sister ship Titanic. I wonder what the riding the electric horse, I wonder what that's supposed to do. Dr. Gustav Zander was a Swedish surgeon. In the 1860s, he was one of the inventors of mechanotherapy, physical therapy involving apparatus. Zander invented and built machines for targeted physical exercise. Several of these machines, illustrated right, were available for passengers to use aboard Titanic. And that must be people just demonstrating. Not too many people go to work out and they have a three-piece suit on. All right, look at that. What is that, the elevators? Titanic aimed to offer its first-class passengers all the conveniences which they were accustomed in daily life ashore. Among these was the lift, an invention that became popular at the turn of the 20th century with the installation of the first electric models. This illustration of Titanic's 3 first-class lifts is from the White Star Line publicity brochure. And it looks like we're moving on to the model now. Okay, so we have the bottom of the bow section, and you can see the gear, look like gear wheels, and you can see the parts section. And it looks like these are going to go onto the engine section. And it's exactly the engine section that I had one of the gears that I needed to get a replacement for. Nice. It's going to be fun. And you can see how they're going to go on the top of the engines. And these look like they're going to move or spin. see at the bottom, fit each of the 4 exhaust valves into the holes in the center of the cylinder heads. These are push-fit connections, and you need to use glue if they feel loose. Or glue at all, just to be safe. You can see this is where that piece is going to go. And we're going to hold it all in place with, looks like, HM screws. And you can see the completed work. Cylinder heads and valves have been added to the engine. The first section of the keel has been fitted to the hull. Store the engine assembly carefully to ensure that you do not damage the valves. And that's the piece right there that I had replaced, that little wheel. And that was issue 10. Moving right along, we got issue 11. Issue number 11. And we have the traveling in third class, Titanic, Nazi propaganda, the first funnel. And you can see the forward well deck, self-adhesive decking, large well deck hatch, smaller well deck hatch screws. Moving on, we get the White Star Line. Looks like the third class menu. The menu from third class restaurant on Titanic. Let's see what we got. White Star Line. You can see the gorgeous Titanic. Third class. Let's see what's for breakfast. This is as of April 12th, 1912. Oatmeal, porridge and milk, smoked herring, jacket potatoes, tripe and onions. Oh, that's not. Tripe does not sound very appealing to me. So I guess we'll go with the oatmeal. And of course, coffee. So we'll have some oatmeal, some jacket potatoes, and some coffee. For dinner, let's see, we got pea soup, bread, cabin biscuits, ling fish, I don't know what that is, egg sauce, hot pot, potatoes, stewed apples, and rice. Oh, that's not apples, that's apflis, stewed apflig. Let's see, A-P-F-L-E-S, stewed apflis. I don't know what that is, and rice. And we've got tea, picked cod, curry and rice, bread and butter, and Swedish bread, jam, and tea. What, no coffee? Come on. For supper, let's see, we got gruel. Wow, I didn't know that. It sounds like something you get on a pirate ship. Cabin biscuits and cheese. Any compliment respecting the food supplied, want of attention, or incivility should be at once reported to the purser or chief steward. For purposes of identification, each steward wears a numbered badge. So there's not much for supper. Gruel, cabin biscuits, and cheese. Although there were 3 classes of passengers on Titanic, third class enjoyed greater comfort than on any other liners of the day. Again, just so beautiful. Okay, I showed you these exact illustrations on the third class brochures for the Olympic and Titanic. A third class cabin on Olympic, sister ship to Titanic. The color illustrations produced by White Star Line to advertise the third class facilities on board Olympic and Titanic, and these show the dining on the top, the smoking rooms to the right. They must have meant there. And both were fitted, and they were fitted in both ships. And look at this. Oh, I love this picture. Is this Titanic? Class divisions were maintained on deck. Third class passengers could only enjoy the sea air on sea deck promenade towards the stern. That's fine. Anything to be on Titanic. I love that picture. Propaganda, 1943. Nazi propaganda. During World War II, a film commissioned by the German propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels was released across Nazi-occupied Europe. It was called Titanic, and it was produced in Germany. It came out in 1943. It was in black and white and did have sound. 85 minutes long. Directed by Herbert Selpin, Werner Klinger, and they're uncredited. Screenplay by Harold Bratt, uncredited. Hansi Koch, uncredited. Herbert Selpin and Walter Zerlett Ophenis. Werner Eisbrenner did the music. It starred Sybil Schmitz, Hans Nielsen, Kirsten Heilberg, Ernest Fritz Furbinger, Karl Schonbach, Charlotte Thiele, Otto Wernick, Franz Schaffelin, and Sepp Rist, Monica Berg. Produced by Tobis Filmkunst. And you can see the poster for the movie Titanic. I wonder how this, anybody out there ever seen this movie? Is it good? I mean, everybody loves Titanic. Even the Germans were fascinated by her. Let's see, Reggie Herbert Selpin, Sybil Schmitz, Hans Nielsen, Kirsten Heiberg, and I had read all those to you. And we go into the parts list. So you guys can see the first funnel, the parts list in this issue. You can see that little pin. So that's where it's going to go. It's going to go into that cylinder. And it's going to be a spring to open the end of the tank. And, yep, this is where we're going to use the, remember, we had done the demonstration for that to show you guys the smoke effect. So this makes more sense that it's going to be right at the top, and each one is going to have one. Because it did produce smoke, but not like the picture shows. And you can see the cylinder that's going to go on. Do not use glue on a tank so it can be separated when you need to fill with water. So that is what I thought it was going to be. That gets moistened, and then the water goes up and evaporates once it hits the plate. Nice. And it shows you assembly of the smokestack. Again, I love the insert. I love the rivets. It looks really nice. So we're going to wrap the colored piece around the tan part, and this is actually metal going onto plastic, and you can see the screws. We're going to use DP screws. Got 6 of them. And you can see this has the little holes where I'm sure is going to end up using the rigging. You can see how we're going to put it together and make sure that the little holes are in the front. To make it easier to remove the tank once the funnel is fitted in place on the deck, we suggest that you remove and refill several times to ensure that the parts can be assembled smoothly. If you find that the tank sticks, fill the end of a pencil and fit the end of a pencil into a smaller square hole in the bottom of the funnel and push the tank upwards. Check that the cable is still threaded through the square hole after doing this. So, is that everything? Yep. And here's the back page. You can see the complete, we put the grill on. It's going to go onto that section. Complete the funnel by fitting the grill onto the funnel cap. Match the small notches on the grill with the rectangular pegs inside the funnel. Do not glue the grill in place. At this stage, we suggest that you use little masking tape to hold the grill in place so that you don't lose it. That's probably why they have that, to tape it in place. And you can see how it's going to look. The first funnel of your Titanic model has been assembled. Store it careful until is needed for another stage of the assembly. Nice. Okay, let's move on to 12. And we've got in a lifeboat heading for safety. The band on board Titanic, A Date with Destiny, Romantic Tragedy, step-by-step instructions for the well deck. You can see we've got the bottom of the bow section that we're going to use, keel section and details for the forward well deck. And you can see a lifeboat heading to safety. Look at that illustration. 1912 watercolor illustration with digital enhancement shows the final moments of the great Titanic as it began to sink beneath the waves. A number of lifeboats on Titanic were insufficient for the passengers and crew. Many boats left the scene half empty in the chaos. Look at that. A shoe and a top hat were among the items that floated around the lifeboats after the tragic sinking of the most famous liner in the world. Think about it. That was somebody's shoe, and somebody was actually wearing that. You can see a gentleman that went down and possibly lost his life. Lifeboat number 6 of Titanic with 28 survivors on 28 people. This photograph was taken from Carpathia on the early morning of April 15th of 1912. They could hold a lot more than 28. And let's see the history of seasickness. From ancient times, ginger root has been known and used for its many beneficial properties, including its capacity to alleviate nausea. You know, it's funny because every time I feel sick or have a cold coming on, drinking ginger ale, the Canada Dry is my favorite. It always makes me feel better. Moving on to this absolutely gorgeous photo. The veranda of the Café Parisien was favored by younger passengers on board Titanic. There they could listen to the sounds most in vogue at the time, played by a trio consisting of Bricot, Brayley, and Crins. I love that picture. Look at that. Love to go have coffee aboard Titanic. And we got another, looks like another movie. Romantic Tragedy. The story of Titanic, with its themes of broken dreams, personal tragedies, and class inequities, was the perfect backdrop for a melodrama. Sound familiar? I know a lot of them are alike. This one from 1953, Titanic. Country of production, United States. It's in black and white with sound, and it's 98 minutes long. Directed by Jean Negulesco. The screenplay by Charles Brackett, Walter Reich, Richard Breen. Music by Saul Capan. The cast is Clifton Webb, Barbara Stanwyck, Robert Wagner, Audrey Dalton, Thelma Ritter, Brian Thurn, Richard Basehart, Allison Jocelyn, James Todd, Francis Bergen, and William Johnson. Production by Charles Brackett. There's a lot more recognizable names in here for me than the Nazi film had. And you can see the movie poster. Nice. Okay, and now we move on. We got the parts list. This is the forward well deck. You can see the bottom, deck plating. We got the deck, 12. Yep, they were hatches, okay. And you can see we're gonna remove the back where you got the adhesive, but we're gonna do that and we're gonna glue it like we did for the forecastle, just to make sure nothing goes anywhere. And let's see, do these get screwed on? Yep. So we put the hatch covers on, and they'll be held in place with, looks like CP screws. And we do the smaller hatch the same way. with CP screws at the bottom of the deck plating. And you can see the completed work. The forward well deck has been assembled and the 2 hatches have been fitted. Nice. And we got magazine number 13. And this one has lifeboat heading to safety, the date with Destiny, again, the band on Titanic, and details of the forward well deck. And you can see in this section what's coming up. Yep, so that wasn't attached. So it's got the peel and stick, and we'll put it on, and we'll use the glue. The decking and vents for the roof of the officers' quarters. Okay, looks like we got an update. Titanic, ship the legend, important change of parts. Replacement parts for issue 1 included with this pack. 1J, the breakwater port side, correct color white, and 1K, the breakwater starboard side, corrected color white. 1M, steam valves, corrected color yellow, and capstans, corrected color gray. This is going to be hard because remember when we did ours, we super glued everything. Dear customer, with this pack we are supplying new parts to replace some of the parts that were supplied with issue 1. These small parts are now supplied in correct colors. You can now glue down these replacement parts. If you have already glued any of the parts in place, you may refer to paint the parts. Maybe we're going to do that. Just because we super glued it. Alright, so that is the insert. So let's take a look. Let's make sure you can see that awesome picture. After bringing the survivors to safety, several of Titanic's lifeboats were hoisted on board Carpathia. Others were set adrift, taking them with the lifeless bodies who did not make it. Wow. So did I read that right? The bodies in the lifeboats, they just set them adrift and let them float around? While people were struggling to survive in dinghies A and B, 5th Officer Harold Lowe refused to abandon those in the water. Look at that photograph. This contemporary photograph shows survivors of Titanic on board Carpathia receiving dry clothing and blankets. Carpathia arrived at the scene of the disaster roughly 90 minutes after the disaster, having sailed a dangerous route through banks of ice. In the hours that followed, the crew greeted 705 survivors and headed for New York, where it arrived on April 18th. And it looks like one of the collapsible boats. Not all Titanic lifeboats were recovered after the survivors were transferred from them. Collapsible Dinghy A, for example, was retrieved by members of the crew of the R.M.S. Oceanic on 13th of May, 1912. It was floating 200 miles from the scene of the sinking and had 3 lifeless bodies on board. Wow. The musicians of the band entertained first-class passengers during the crossing by playing at various times of the day in the ship's restaurants and lounges, such as the Airy Veranda Cafe left. Look at that. That's gorgeous. Of course it's gorgeous. It's the Titanic. Some survivors claimed that the orchestra was playing the Sacred Hand Nearer My God to Thee while Titanic was sinking. The James Cameron film made that very prominent at the last scenes of the ship's going down. They're playing Nearer My God to Thee. That always gets me. The band played Nearer My God to Thee at the ship as the ship went down in memory of the heroes of the ill-fated Titanic. And you can see this is a Titanic Musicians Memorial. In memory of the heroic musicians of the SS Titanic, lost on their maiden voyage from Southampton to New York, April 15th, 1912. It does say 15th, right? Yeah. They died at their posts like men. And now we're moving on to the details for the forward well deck. And you can see the keel section of the parts list. All right. Let's see. Look at, you can see putting all the, what are these called? They're not, are they bollards? They're bits. Okay, so putting the bits in around the hatch covers. And these look like the vents. And you can see the base of the rollers. And you can see how they put the glue on with the toothpick. And looks like these are winches. Are they winches? Let's see, 13G. Winches, yep. And you can see the hatch covers, where they're going to go. Continuing the assembly. And you can see the completed work. Looking good. All right, that was issue 13. So it looks like we're on to our last one. Yep, this is issue number 14. An Italian-made traveling first class. CQD or SOS. CQD and SOS, excuse me. Step-by-step instructions, the officers' quarters, and decking. The stories of many of the survivors are recorded for posterity. One featured Albina Bassi, a maid who was traveling first class. Some of the survivors of the Titanic disaster on board Carpathia after their rescue. Among the lucky few who were rescued from the Italian Albini was the Italian Albina Bassani, who was traveling in first class as a maid to Miss Emma Eliza Bucknell, who also survived the tragedy. Well, that's nice they survived. Among the celebrated cancellations was Robert Bacon, the American ambassador in Paris, a personal friend of J.P. Morgan. He had completed his term in office and was due to return to the United States, but, well, he's lucky. Consider himself lucky he didn't take the trip. But that is J.P. Morgan. And you can see Titanic at auction. Personal effects, ornaments, and parts of the ship itself are collector's items. Many of these can be seen at museums and temporary exhibitions dedicated to the story of Titanic. Absolutely spectacular. I was lucky enough to see it at Foxwoods Casino. And this was back in 2008, I think. And that's when they had brought up the large section of the hull. It just gives you the chills to see it. Oh, it was just breathtaking. You just had the chills. The hairs on the back of your neck stood up. Okay, the Marconi wireless operator John George Jack Phillips sent distress calls from Titanic's radio room until the end. Having bravely carried out his duty, he jumped overboard and froze to death in the water. With Marconi's invention of the wireless telegraph, communications across the ocean seemed to have become child's play. I wonder what these people would think about the technology today with the satellites and everything. Things have changed so much since 1912. Reconstruction of the Marconi operator's room on board Titanic was part of the Titanic, the artifact exhibition that toured Europe in 2017. I would love to see that. And what is this? One of the old Morse code transmitters, showing clear signs of wear. Morse code or alphabet was one of the first long-distance methods of communication. And now we're going to move on to the officers' quarters and decking. You can see the deck, the pieces that are included, and how we're going to peel off the back. And then we're going to put on the vents and all the pieces. Nice preparation of the funnel. The swan neck vent. The air intake and decking. Look at, that's what we got when we're finished. Completed work. Vents have been fitted into the decking on the roof of the officers' quarters and will be fitted for future issue. Store the assembly and unused vents carefully until needed. And that's everything that came in shipment number 3. And my friends, I hope you're as excited as I am to start the build. And that's going to be the next video. I want to show you everything that comes in the shipments. That way there, if you're curious about what's in it, you can just go back and watch the video. The next video is strictly going to be going on with the build. So we're going to start building. We're not going to do any of the unboxing or anything, because that's what this video is for. So my friends, I hope you enjoyed this video, and until we do the build, I'll talk to you very soon.